What's a mistake most guys make when trying to get a girlfriend? Applying your previous relationships to your new relationships. For example, I took it to heart when an ex called me clingy, which led me to try and play it cool in relationships after, where big romantic gestures would have been appreciated, that I would have loved to have done, but didn't because I thought it would make me look clingy. It's interesting how past experiences shape how we approach new relationships. I had a similar experience where I held back on expressing myself, thinking I might overwhelm someone. It took time to realize that being open and genuine is more valuable. It's easy to get stuck in patterns based on past feedback, but learning to let go of those fears can unlock better connections. Definitely a journey worth taking. Trying too hard to impress instead of just being themselves. Confidence is attractive, but if it feels forced or fake, it's a major turn-off. Focus on building a genuine connection rather than treating it like a performance or a checklist. I had a friend who always tried too hard on first dates. It was like he was following a script. The more he tried to impress, the less genuine he seemed. I told him to just be himself, but he never got it. He kept losing chances because people could see through the act. It was a lesson on being real and that connections matter more than showmanship. Assuming the way you treat them is the only thing that matters. How you treat yourself, your family, your space and the strangers around you are all also very important things girlfriends notice very quickly. It's interesting how much we overlook the little things. I had a friend who always put others first but neglected himself. He'd help everyone with their problems, but his own life was a mess. Eventually, it caught up to him. It took a lot of conversations for him to see that how he treated himself mattered, too. Now, he's much better at balancing it all, and it shows in his relationships. In my honest experience, the most common mistake is not asking her out. I've seen men flirt for 3 to 8 months with a girl or pine for over a year without ever saying anything to her explicitly. Just, like, waiting for her to notice, I suppose. Don't do that. If you're interested and think she is, make a move within a month or 2. After that, it gets more awkward to try and change the terms you're acting on. I've definitely seen that happen with friends. They'll flirt for ages, but never make a real move. It's kind of painful to watch, honestly. I had a friend who took months just to ask someone out, and by that time, it was super awkward. It's better to just be upfront, you know? If you're into someone, just say something, or you'll end up missing your chance. Forgetting or not realizing that it's a mutual thing. You can't force it and neither are you required to. She either likes you, or she doesn't. Women aren't some mythical creature that needs to be tamed. All it needs is chemistry. Which leads us to the final point. Be yourself. Being the best possible version of yourself does of course help, so try giving that a shot. It's pretty straightforward, really. Sometimes people get caught up trying to impress someone, but it really just comes down to chemistry. You can't force connections. I had a friend who thought he needed to put on a show, but once he started being himself, things changed. Just be genuine. If it clicks, great. If not, that's just how it goes. No need to complicate it. Caring too much about getting a girlfriend leads to ignoring red flags in potential interests and themselves. Men should really focus on building themselves and their happiness before getting into serious relationships, especially men in their 20s. Many unhappy young men latch onto women because it makes themselves feel good. Let life choose your significant other, not your brain. Optimize yourself and you might have a chance at a successful relationship. I get that. I've seen guys get so caught up in finding someone that they overlook the signs. It's like they're in a rush and forget to actually figure themselves out first. In my 20s, I realized it's about building your own happiness first. When you're happy and confident, the right person tends to come along naturally. Focus on yourself, and relationships will follow when the time is right. Thinking they need to act like someone they're not to impress a girl. Most of us can tell when you're faking it, and it's such a turn-off. Just be confident in who you are, it's way more attractive than trying to put on a show. A friend of mine once tried to impress a girl by pretending to be into a bunch of stuff he really didn't care about. It was obvious he was faking it, and honestly, it was kind of awkward to watch. In the end, he realized that just being himself was what she actually liked. Turns out honesty and confidence worked way better than any act. For trying to start a relationship with a girl from scratch? Not making intentions clear from the beginning. For trying to turn an established friendship into a romantic relationship? Not actually making the move. In all cases? Trying to force it to happen when it's clear it's not a good fit. Navigating relationships can be tricky. I remember wanting to ask a friend out but hesitating because I didn't want to ruin our friendship. I waited too long and ended up missing my chance. Sometimes, just being clear from the start can save a lot of heartache. And forcing things rarely works out, which I learned the hard way. It's better to let things flow naturally. Confusing good traits desirable in a boyfriend with traits important and useful in attracting a woman. These are quite different. Almost every woman and man values things like kindness, intelligence, loyalty. But if you start out in a mighty effort to flex your intelligence or kindness, it looks bad. Really, really bad. Those are things that are demonstrated over time organically. Attraction is more about appearance, social skills, emotional intelligence that clues you into what the other person is feeling and wants, doesn't want, humor, being successful at something, confidence, sincere interest, etc. It's true. I've seen friends focus too much on trying to show off their good traits. They try to impress, but it often backfires. Like when one buddy always talked about how smart he was instead of just being himself. It's those subtle things, like how you connect and read the room, that really matter. In the end, being genuine and confident goes a lot further than just listing your good qualities. Trying to get a girlfriend. If you're interested in finding a romantic partner, less is more as far as effort goes. Cool, casual, poised. The line between trying and trying too hard is thinner than people think, and women can spot it easily and they are quite averse to it. Put yourself out there, interact, focus on finding chemistry and connection, not a girlfriend. This is all purely my personal experience, anecdotal from those around me. I had a friend who was always overthinking dating. He'd stress about every message or move he made. One day, he just relaxed and went to a party. He didn't go in with expectations and ended up having a good time. He met someone organically. They clicked, and it turned out better than all his previous efforts. Sometimes, it's about being chill and letting things happen. I always say this in a language they can understand, bro, you're thinking like a man, not a woman. They assume women want one thing, but they shouldn't assume at all. Get to know the person as an individual, what they like, what they want, and decide if you are right for that. If not, move on respectfully. That's true. A lot of people make assumptions based on stereotypes. It's all about understanding each person as they are, rather than trying to fit them into a box. Just like in any relationship, communication is key. You really have to focus on what each person wants and needs. If it doesn't work out, just part ways respectfully. It keeps things simple and drama-free. Not noticing if she's interested. This goes both ways, too. Some guys will pursue girls that have no romantic interest in them but are trying to be gentle and not hurting feelings, so they end up wasting time chasing someone they can't be with. Then other guys don't notice the obvious to girls flirting happening and end up missing out because they couldn't take a hint. Learn to recognize both ways and respect the choice of the girl making it. I've seen this happen with a friend. He liked a girl but couldn't tell she wasn't interested. He kept trying, thinking maybe she'd change her mind. Meanwhile, another friend who liked him was flirting, but he totally missed it. It was awkward for everyone involved. Learning to read signals can save time and feelings, you know? Just respect the choices and move on if it's not mutual. Pretending to be friends as a step towards a relationship. These are not two steps on the same ladder. Most girls would much rather have a genuine friend than someone who pretends to be one to get in their pants. Of course, many guys also get it right, being friends for the sake of friendship, growing feelings after becoming friends, or being romantically involved from the get-go, but rejecting your friend's romantic attempts just for the friendship to die makes you suspicious of every friendly guy afterwards, and oftentimes you are right. I remember a time when a friend tried to act all friendly just to get closer. At first, it was fine, but it felt off. After rejecting his advances, things got awkward. He couldn't stay just friends, and it faded away. That made me cautious of other guys later on. It's tricky when motives mix like that. Makes it hard to trust someone who seems nice. The trying part. Rather than focusing on having a full life that's satisfying, they make everything about the girlfriend part. So many of the girls I dated in my 20s were just around while I was having fun, and one day, they decided to get in on it. It's interesting how often that happens. A lot of people get fixated on relationships instead of just enjoying life. Those experiences with the girls from my 20s were pretty much the same. They were there for the fun, but as soon as they caught feelings, the dynamic shifted. It's like they wanted to be part of the good times without understanding the whole picture. It definitely made things more complicated. Having the sole intention of trying to get a girlfriend. It jades your communication. That's the mistake. Desperation is a stinky cologne. Go out hoping to meet someone, don't make it your 007 mission. Yeah, I can relate to that. I remember a time when I was fixated on finding someone. I awkwardly tried to impress people, and it just didn't work. Instead of being myself, I was acting like I was on a secret mission. Eventually, I realized that chilling out and just being social helped more. Sometimes, taking the pressure off makes it easier to connect with others. Being unattractive. Jokes aside, that is actually wildly true. Attraction comes in many forms, however, so it isn't always about looks. It's also about personality, hygiene, intelligence, behavior. There are tons of things that can make or break someone's attractiveness. You need to cultivate your attractiveness. Read some books, learn a skill, take up a hobby. Focus on yourself and build a self. Don't try to be who you think other people want you to be. Who you want to be will be exactly who someone else is looking for. I am going to sound old, but I also think people need to get off the social media and the dating apps and start going out into the world and meeting people and making friends and memories. It's much easier to know if you are attracted to someone if you actually get to meet them and get to know them, and especially in group settings surrounded by friends. I had a friend who always felt unattractive. He focused too much on looks and missed the point. Once he started reading and picked up a hobby, his confidence grew. He became someone people wanted to be around. Social media wasn't giving him what he needed, so he put his phone down and started meeting people in real life. It changed everything for him. Being genuine really does attract others. Dude here. I found the best way to actually form a healthy relationship is not go too fast or too slow. Match her pace, and don't cling on too fast. No girl wants to be love-bombed from the rip. Also have hobbies and interests of your own. Take time for yourself and show you aren't codependent and desperate. That makes sense. Finding a balance is key. I've seen friends rush into relationships and then pull away because they felt overwhelmed. It's good to give each other space and not lose yourself in the process. Having your own interests helps keep things interesting and shows you're independent. Building a connection takes time, and matching her pace can lead to a more genuine bond. They're after women who don't want to be with them. I knew a few guys who wanted women who weren't interested in them. They'd change who they were, then end up in shit relationships and get upset when it ended. Then they do the same all over again. Look for someone who you're compatible with. Don't change yourself to be with a woman then switch up on them when you think they're trapped. Some of them will stay because they're desperate to find the person they thought was real, but the others will leave. It's interesting how some people chase after those who show no interest. I had a friend who did this constantly. He'd change his whole vibe just to win someone over, but it never worked out. Eventually, he got frustrated and started over again with the same approach. I told him to just be himself and find someone who genuinely liked him. It's a lot simpler that way. 2 big ones, trying to make a one-sided relationship happen. She's not that into you. Stop. Just stop. Having a girlfriend is not the same as having a good girlfriend. Some just want to in a relationship just to be in a relationship even if it's bad and doomed to fail and is kind of wasting everyone's time, effort, money, hope, etc. Being single is not bad. Being picky is not bad. Sometimes, we cling to relationships that aren't right for us. I've seen friends settle for what looks good on the surface, ignoring the reality beneath. It's tough to watch someone invest so much in a relationship that's clearly one-sided. Being single gives you the chance to find something genuine. It's okay to be selective about who you let into your life. It can save you a lot of time and heartache down the line. Self-acceptance. You don't need to overthink, don't need to play games, and don't need to get jealous of everyone on the planet. Just be you and trust that you are worthy of her affection as much as she is of yours. I remember a time when a friend struggled with self-acceptance. He always compared himself to others and felt inadequate. It wasn't until he realized that being himself was enough that things changed. He started to embrace his quirks and even found someone who appreciated him for who he was. It taught me that self-worth is key in relationships, and just being authentic can really connect you with someone special. Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.